Mr. Josh Linkner.
So the more curious you are, the more creative you'll become. How do you do this? It's actually one of the simplest techniques of all. You just simply ask these three questions again and again and again. Why? What if? And why not? Because when you ask these questions, it forces you to challenge conventional wisdom. It forces you to imagine what can be instead of just what is. So when you think about killing creativity and feeding the fear, the opposite, of course, liberates us. WD-40, which I'm sure we all know, but I don't know if you know what it stands for. The name actually stands for Water Displacement 40th Experiment. Could have easily been WD-31. But the cool part about this team is that they realize that more often than not, innovation and creativity doesn't happen as a giant lightning bolt that hits us in our sleep. It happens through a series of setbacks and failures and experiments that ultimately lead to something great. What the team at WD-40 knows, and what we all need to embrace, is that mistakes are not fatal. Mistakes are simply the portals of discovery. There's an old saying that every bullseye is the result of 100 misses. But why don't we teach our kids that? And why don't we run our companies that way? A couple fun things I'll share with you from the research that I did on the book. One of the companies that I interviewed issues a Failure of the Year award each year. So they hold a big banquet, and they celebrate the team member of the year and the project of the year and the failure of the year. So this goes for the team or individual that had a great idea. The numbers made sense, they went for it, didn't work out at all. But good for them. So instead of punishing this, they celebrate failure. Think about the message that drives deep into the DNA of this company. Another company that I interviewed issues every team member 2 corporate get-out-of-jail-free cards each year. Here's what they say. They say, go out on a limb, be creative, and if you really screw something up, hand us one of these cards and you're off the hook, no questions asked. On the annual reviews, a team leader will actually be disappointed with a team member if they haven't used both of them. So you say, all right, is that risky? Well, perhaps, but what's the risk of not doing something like this? Irrelevance? Mediocrity? Getting passed by? So many people, so many organizations live their lives trying to play it safe, only to discover that playing it safe has become the riskiest move of all. Now, I was thinking one day about greatness. And this was a few years ago as I was building my company. And I realized that greatness is often achieved in the face of adversity. You know, what would Superman be without Lex Luthor? You have great sports rivalries and political rivalries. Well, in our company, we had got out of the chute so quickly. And a few years in, we were the dominant player in our field. And we were so far ahead of the competitive set that we didn't have a big evil enemy to go after. So here's what I did. I invented one. So I rolled out to our company our fictitious nemesis, our made-up bad guys, the Slither Corporation. And I announced to our team, and this wasn't, by the way, to make us feel better. It was to challenge us. So I said, folks, there's a company out there that's bigger than us, and they're faster than us, and they're more profitable than us, and they're more innovative than we are. Slither. And this went on to become part of our culture because we made up the imaginary ultimate competitor. And we would do fun things. We would intercept memos, our spies inside Slither, and find out what they're doing. We'd get Wall Street Journal clippings of their earnings report. And we had a lot of fun with it. But I'll tell you what it did is it challenged us to go that extra step in our creative thinking. We mentioned earlier that fear is such a huge blocker of creativity and often can get in the way of us executing great ideas. So what we did at our company is we asked the question differently. I'll give you an example. If I said, all right, how can we shave 2 days out of our cycle time? People would clam up because they don't want to offend the person who put that process in place at first. So we stopped asking the question that way. Here's what we would say. Our spies just got an internal report, and we heard that Slither shaved 2 days out of their cycle time. How do you think they did it? Well, what happened was that the whiteboards became filled with ideas. because there was no personal threat. It was a third party, so people could really express themselves. Now, I know most of us have real competitors, but I'd like to challenge you to think about something. What if someone down the block from you opened up a brand new company, and you had a crystal ball and you realized that 5 years from now, they would be eating your lunch? Whether you represent a big brand or a small company, they would be putting you out of business. What would they do differently? How would they approach their work if they had a blank sheet? I'll tell you, someday a company, no matter how big you are, someday a company is going to come along and put you out of business. It might as well be you. I want to encourage you as we leave here today and you go back to your offices, now is the time. Now is the time to unleash our creative capacity. Now is the time to stick our fingers in the eye of those complacent incumbents. Now is the time to let our imaginations soar. And by doing so, it's the time for us to seize the enormous opportunity that's waiting for all of us just outside those doors. Thank you very much.